Admiral Vorthak-Nine clicked his 6 mandibles in what passed for amusement among the Zilithian Empire. The holographic display before him showed a small, blue-green planet spinning lazily in the void. Earth, the locals called it. How quaint. Admiral, his tactical officer, Commander Rilex, buzzed through the bridge's communication array. The final reconnaissance reports are in. The species calls themselves humans. Intelligence suggests they're barely beyond primitive combustion technology. Vorthak-Nine's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Humans? Oh, Rilex, you've been reading too many old spacer tales. Next you'll tell me they breathe oxygen and walk on 2 legs like some children's story. The bridge crew of the dreadnought Infinite Spite erupted in what could generously be called laughter. Among the Zilithians, humans were indeed mythical creatures. Ancient folklore spoke of bipedal beings who conquered worlds not through superior technology, but through sheer, incomprehensible stubbornness. Old nursery rhymes warned young Zilithians about creatures that refused to die when killed and somehow turned their own weaknesses into strengths. Sir, Rilex's voice carried a hint of uncertainty. The reports are quite detailed. They seem to match the old descriptions rather, precisely. Precisely my point. Vorthak-Nine slammed his primary appendage against the command console. Someone's been playing an elaborate prank. Probably those trickster morphlings from the Andromeda sector. They love their little jokes about mythical species. Sub-Commander Threx, operating the sensor array, looked up from his station with his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. Admiral, I'm detecting approximately 7.8 billion life forms on the surface. If this is a prank, it's remarkably thorough. 7.8 billion? Vorthak-Nine's tone shifted slightly. That was a lot of effort for a joke. Well, whatever they are, they certainly can't be the legendary humans. According to the stories, humans would have detected our fleet by now and somehow already be preparing some impossibly clever counterattack. The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's quantum processors. Vorthak-Nine had a point. The fleet consisted of 347 vessels, each the size of a small moon. Their cloaking technology was the finest in 17 galaxies. If the creatures below were truly the mythical humans, they should have, well, done something by now. Sir, Communications Officer Erplex announced, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface. Ah. Vorthak-Nine's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Surrender terms, no doubt. Patch them through. The main screen flickered to life, displaying what appeared to be a news broadcast. A bipedal creature with pink skin and an unnaturally small amount of fur sat behind a desk, speaking in rapid tones. Breaking news this hour, astronomers at the Kepler Observatory have confirmed the presence of what appears to be an enormous fleet of unknown objects positioned at the edge of our solar system. Vorthak-Nine blinked his compound eyes. They detected us? Impossible, Threx muttered, frantically checking his instruments. Our cloaking shields are operating at maximum efficiency. These readings show we're completely invisible to their primitive sensors. On the screen, the human continued, government officials are calling for calm while scientists work to determine whether these objects pose any threat to Earth. In related news, online communities have begun organizing what they're calling welcome parties for our potential visitors. Welcome parties? Commander Rilex's voice cracked. They're not afraid? Another transmission crackled through. This one showed a different human, younger, holding some kind of primitive recording device. Hey everyone, it's Jake here. So apparently we've got aliens in orbit, which is pretty cool. I'm starting a live stream to track their movements. If you're watching this, aliens, we've got pizza down here. Just saying. The bridge crew exchanged bewildered glances. This was not the response they expected from any species facing imminent conquest. Admiral, Erplex reported, I'm receiving over 14,000 similar transmissions. Many appear to be invitations to social gatherings. Vorthak-Nine felt a cold sensation in his primary stomach. According to the old stories, humans possessed an unnerving tendency to treat existential threats as opportunities for celebration. But those were just stories, weren't they? "Sir," Threx called out, his voice tense, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface. It appears they're launching something." Finally, Vorthak-Nine straightened. Their pathetic attempt at retaliation. What are they sending? Nuclear missiles? Kinetic projectiles? I'm not sure, sir. The objects appear to be metallic. Cylindrical. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The main screen split to show dozens of small objects rising from Earth's surface. As they climbed toward the fleet, their signals became clearer. "This is the International Space Station calling unknown vessels. We come in peace. We're sending up some of our best coffee and music samples. Please respond if you can understand this message. They're sending gifts." Rilex whispered. Another signal joined the first. "Greetings from the people of Earth. We've included mathematical constants, prime numbers, and photos of puppies. We hope this demonstrates our peaceful intentions." Puppies? Vorthak-Nine felt his secondary brain beginning to overheat. What in the 17 hells is a puppy? Sub-Commander Xylan, the fleet's cultural analyst, quickly accessed the database. "Sir, according to our scans, puppies appear to be juvenile versions of a domesticated predator species that humans keep in their dwellings for companionship." They domesticated predators? For companionship? Vorthak-Nine's voice rose an octave. That's exactly what the old story said they would do." The bridge erupted in nervous chittering. Everyone knew the legends. Humans supposedly befriended everything, including their own predators. They were said to take dangerous creatures and somehow convince them to live peacefully in their homes, often sleeping in the same beds as their young. "Sir," Threx reported, "the gift containers are approaching our outer perimeter. They're not armed, but they are transmitting something called music." Suddenly, the bridge filled with an otherworldly sound. Melodic tones rose and fell in patterns that seemed to trigger emotional responses in the crew. Several officers began swaying involuntarily. "Turn it off," Vorthak-Nine commanded, but his own voice lacked conviction. The sounds were oddly pleasant. "I can't, sir. It's on all frequencies. They're broadcasting on frequencies we didn't even know existed." A new voice joined the musical transmission. "Hey there, visitors. This is Maria Santos, Director of Earth's First Contact Protocol. We figured you might be listening, so we thought we'd send up a little welcome gift. The music is Mozart. The coffee is Colombian. And don't worry about the whole invasion thing. We've seen enough movies to know how this usually goes. Why don't we skip the part where everyone shoots at each other and go straight to the cultural exchange?" Vorthak-Nine felt his grip on reality beginning to slip. First Contact Protocol? They had a protocol? For this exact situation? "Admiral," Rilex's voice was barely a whisper, What if they really are humans?" The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If these creatures were indeed the legendary humans, then everything the Zilithian Empire thought it knew about warfare, conquest, and superior species was about to be turned upside down. "Impossible," Vorthak-Nine muttered, but his conviction was wavering. "The stories are just stories. Humans can't really turn every situation to their advantage through pure audacity and inexplicable optimism." As if summoned by his words, another transmission appeared on screen. This one showed a human female wearing what appeared to be military attire. "This is General Patricia Foster, United Earth Defense Command. We've been tracking your fleet since you entered our solar system 3 days ago. We wanted to give you time to announce yourselves, but since you seem to be the shy type, we thought we'd make the first move. We've prepared landing coordinates for your diplomatic vessels. Oh, and don't worry about bringing weapons. We figure if you wanted to destroy us, you would have done it already. See you soon. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. 3 days? Threx checked his instruments frantically. But we've only been here for, oh. Oh no. What? Vorthak-Nine demanded. Sir, they detected us the moment we dropped out of hyperspace. These transmissions, they're not spontaneous. They've been preparing for our arrival. Another chill ran through Vorthak-Nine's exoskeleton. The humans had not only detected them immediately but had spent 3 days preparing a response. And their response was, hospitality? Sir, Communications Officer Erplex announced, I'm receiving a priority transmission. It appears to be from their planetary defense network. Defense network? Vorthak-Nine perked up. Finally, something that made sense. Threats? Demands for withdrawal? Not exactly, sir. They're asking if anyone in our fleet has food allergies. The Admiral stared at the communication display for a long moment, his mandibles clicking involuntarily. Food allergies? They were concerned about food allergies? And sir? Erplex continued hesitantly, they've also sent detailed instructions for atmospheric entry procedures to minimize environmental impact, along with what they call tourist information about local customs and recommended sightseeing destinations. Vorthak-Nine sank into his command chair, all 6 of his legs trembling. Tourist information. They were treating the largest invasion fleet in galactic history as a tourist expedition. Admiral, Commander Rilex approached cautiously, what are your orders? For the first time in his 300-year military career, Admiral Vorthak-Nine found himself completely at a loss for words. Every tactical manual, every strategic doctrine, every piece of conventional wisdom about conquest and warfare had just been rendered utterly useless by creatures offering coffee and asking about food allergies that he looked out at the small blue planet spinning peacefully below and realized, with growing horror, that the old stories might not have been stories at all. Admiral Vorthak-Nine spent the next 4 hours in what could only be described as an existential crisis. His senior staff had gathered in the strategy chamber, but instead of planning an invasion, they were frantically cross-referencing ancient Zilithian folklore with the increasingly bizarre transmissions from Earth. Sir, Subcommander Threx announced, consulting a data pad that looked older than most civilizations, I've found 17 separate references to human behavior patterns that match what we're observing. According to legend, humans possess something called aggressive hospitality. Aggressive hospitality? Commander Rilex's translator struggled with the concept. How can hospitality be aggressive? Apparently, Threx continued, his voice growing more worried, they weaponize kindness. They're so persistently friendly that their enemies eventually surrender just to make it stop. A new transmission interrupted their discussion. This time, the screen showed a human male wearing an apron and standing in what appeared to be a food preparation area. Greetings, space friends. I'm Chef Antonio Valdez from the International Space Station's kitchen. We heard you might be coming down for a visit, so we've been working on some fusion cuisine. We've got traditional Earth dishes mixed with some experimental zero-gravity preparations. Fair warning though, humans have pretty strong stomachs, so if you have any dietary restrictions, please let us know. We don't want anyone getting space sick on their first day. The transmission ended with the human actually winking at the camera. He winked, Vorthak-Nine said flatly. A member of a species facing potential annihilation just winked at us. Sir, Communications Officer Erplex reported, we're receiving thousands of similar messages. Cooking shows, tour guides, language lessons, they're treating our arrival like some kind of cultural festival. Another signal came through, this one from what appeared to be a group of young humans gathered around a large fire. Hey aliens! This is the Colorado Space Watch Club. We've been tracking you guys for days, and we just wanted to say welcome to the neighborhood. We've got esmores ready and guitar music if you want to drop by. Our coordinates are attached. Oh, and don't worry about landing procedures. My dad works for NASA and he says you can pretty much land anywhere as long as you avoid the wildlife preserves. Vorthak-Nine's primary brain was starting to hurt. Wildlife preserves? They're more concerned about protecting their animals than defending against us? According to the mythology, Threx said nervously, humans value the lives of other species almost as much as their own. Some stories suggest they've been known to risk their own safety to protect creatures they've never even met. Ridiculous, Vorthak-Nine muttered, but his conviction was cracking. No species survives by prioritizing others over themselves. As if the universe was determined to prove him wrong, another transmission appeared. This one showed a human female in what appeared to be some kind of medical facility. This is Dr. Rebecca Martinez at the Houston Medical Center. We've been preparing medical bays for any visitors who might need assistance adapting to our atmosphere or gravity. We've studied the limited data we have about various alien physiologies and we think we can help with most basic medical needs. No charge, of course. We figure healthcare should be universal, and that includes visitors from other star systems. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of Vorthak-Nine's mandibles grinding against each other. Free medical care, he said slowly. They're offering free medical care to an invasion fleet. Sir, Rilex ventured carefully, what if we're not an invasion fleet anymore? What if we're just visitors? Before Vorthak-Nine could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Every officer rushed to their stations as red warning lights bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. Report. Vorthak-Nine bellowed. Sir, Threx called out, his voice tight with panic, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. It looks like they're powering up some kind of planetary defense grid. Finally. Vorthak-Nine felt a surge of relief. This was familiar territory. Weapons systems, defensive measures, military posturing. This he could understand. Details, Sub-Commander. Are they targeting our fleet? Aye, sir, the energy signatures are, they're not weapons. They're lights. Lights? The main screen shifted to show Earth's night side, and Vorthak-Nine's relief evaporated instantly. Across every continent, massive patterns of light were appearing. But these weren't military installations or defensive barriers. They were words. Giant, continent-spanning words written in light, visible from space. Welcome to Earth blazed across North America in letters that stretched from coast to coast. Greetings friends, illuminated Europe and Asia. Party time covered Australia in what appeared to be multicolored celebration lights. Sir, Erplex reported weekly, they've coordinated a planet-wide light display. It appears they've turned off non-essential lighting in major cities to create these messages. The energy requirements alone, they've organized their entire planet, Vorthak-Nine whispered, in 4 hours. Actually sir, Threx corrected, consulting his instruments, based on the infrastructure required, they must have started planning this weeks ago. Possibly months. The horrible truth was beginning to sink in. Not only had the humans detected the fleet immediately, they had anticipated this moment and prepared for it on a planetary scale. They had turned what should have been humanity's darkest hour into what appeared to be the galaxy's largest welcome party. Sir, a new voice called out. It was Lieutenant Kresh from the Intelligence Division. I've been analyzing the human communication networks. They appear to be sharing something called memes about our arrival. Memes? Vorthak-Nine felt his sanity slipping away piece by piece. Humorous images and text, sir. They're making jokes about us. But not hostile jokes. They seem to find our arrival entertaining. The main screen filled with a rapid succession of images, humans dressed in bizarre costumes with signs reading, aliens welcome, pictures of food with captions like, hope they like pizza, and countless variations of humans making exaggerated excited expressions with text reading, when the aliens finally arrive but they're just tourists. They're laughing, Commander Rilex observed with something approaching awe. An unknown alien fleet appears in their system, and they're laughing about it. Suddenly, a priority transmission cut through all other signals. The screen showed a human female in formal attire, standing in what appeared to be an official government building. This is President Sarah Kim of the United Earth Alliance. I hope this message reaches whoever is in command of your fleet. We want you to know that you are welcome here. We understand that first contact can be complicated, so we've prepared several options for how you'd like to proceed. If you're here for scientific exchange, we've got our best researchers ready to share knowledge. If you're explorers, we've prepared cultural tours of every major region. If you're traders, we've set up markets with representatives from every nation. And if you're here for conquest, well, we've prepared for that too. The president paused, and her expression shifted to something that made Vorthak-Nine's exoskeleton itch with discomfort. You see, we've learned a lot about dealing with hostile neighbors over the centuries. We've gotten pretty good at it. But we've also learned that most conflicts start with misunderstandings, fear, or unmet needs. So before anyone starts shooting, how about we talk? We've got coffee, we've got food, we've got questions about the universe, and we've got stories to share. What do you say? The transmission ended with the president smiling directly at the camera, and Vorthak-Nine realized he was looking at the most terrifying expression he had ever seen. It wasn't the smile of a predator or a warrior. It was the smile of someone who was completely, utterly confident that everything was going to work out just fine. Admiral, Rilek said quietly, I think we need to consider the possibility that we may have made a tactical error. A tactical error? Vorthak-Nine laughed, but it sounded more like a cry of despair. Rilek, we haven't made a tactical error. We've stumbled into a fairy tale. And we're not the heroes. Another transmission came through, this one showing dozens of humans of various ages holding up signs in what appeared to be dozens of different languages. Hi there. We're the Earth Translation Project. We've been working on communication protocols since we detected your arrival. We've prepared translation matrices for over 3,000 known languages and mathematical systems. We're pretty excited to learn how you communicate. Our linguists are particularly interested in whether you use any communication methods we haven't discovered yet. Vorthak-Nine stared at the screen in growing horror. They had translation protocols ready. They had medical facilities prepared. They had food, entertainment, and cultural exchanges organized. They had turned his invasion fleet into a tourist attraction and somehow made it seem like the most natural thing in the universe. Sir, Threx announced, I'm receiving a direct communication request from the planet's surface. It appears to be from their military command. Finally, Vorthak-Nine said with desperate relief. Patch them through. The screen cleared to show a human male in military uniform, but his expression was neither hostile nor fearful. If anything, he looked curious. This is General Marcus Thompson, Earth Defense Command. I was hoping we could have a quick chat, Fleet Commander to Fleet Commander. We've been monitoring your movements, and I have to say, you folks run a tight formation. Professional work. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why we haven't done anything that looks like preparing for battle, and the answer is pretty simple. We figured out a long time ago that the best way to win a fight is to not have one in the first place. So, what do you say we skip the whole invasion thing and move straight to the part where we figure out how to help each other? I've got a bottle of 20-year-old scotch and some questions about faster-than-light travel. Sound like a deal? The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in absolute silence. After a long moment, Commander Rilek spoke up. Sir, I believe we've encountered the legendary humans. Admiral Vorthak-Nine looked out at the small blue planet that had just turned his entire understanding of the universe upside down. Somewhere down there, billions of creatures were preparing to welcome the largest invasion fleet in galactic history with food, friendship, and scotch. Helm, he said finally, his voice barely a whisper, prepare a shuttle for planetary approach. And send a message to the surface. Tell them we accept their invitation. Sir. Rilex asked uncertainly. Vorthak-Nine turned to face his crew, and for the first time in his military career, he smiled. It was a terrifying expression on a Zilithian face, but somehow appropriate. Rilex, we came here to conquer a planet. Instead, we've been conquered by the sheer audacity of their welcome. The humans have weaponized hospitality, and frankly, I'm not sure our empire is equipped to defend against kindness this aggressive. As the shuttle bay prepared for departure, Vorthak-Nine couldn't help but laugh. Somewhere in the archives of Zilithian folklore, ancient writers had tried to warn future generations about creatures who could turn any situation to their advantage through pure, incomprehensible optimism. They should have listened to the stories.